This is obviously no whodunit, it's a whodunit.
You've got violent encounter, man inside an apartment, and gun.
So how many shots were fired? One.
This appears to be murder.
There's just so many questions that are left unanswered.
Nikki and Chris met pretty innocently.
He started working at the gym that she worked at. And it started as a friendship, and it developed into something romantic.
Nikki was more the kind, compassionate, mothery side of taking care of the girls. Chris was more kind of the goofy, joking around with the girls.
Chris and Nikki lived in Poughkeepsie, New York. It's about 2 hours north of Manhattan. Far enough away so it doesn't feel like New York City, but it's not rural either. Nikki gets pregnant. She and her partner, Chris, move in together, and a couple of years later welcome a second child.
It looked like they had this beautiful life, and for many reasons we know that they didn't. It's the night of September 27th, bleeding into the early morning of September 28th.
There's a vehicle at a traffic light, and it's not moving. A police car pulls up behind her. Nikki exits the vehicle. She's got no shoes on. She's visibly upset and shaken.
Just one more time, go through the story with me. Is there anybody else in the house, actually? Okay.
And she starts spilling this very confusing, kind of disjointed story.
And you have no idea what you might have. So how many shots were fired? One. No, there's... Okay, relax.
Reached into the couch, and I need him, and it fell, and I picked it up. He said, I will serve you, and I'll come in, and the kids will have nobody.
This is all happening in a very small area. Nikki is at a traffic stop with officers about a half mile from the house, where officers are now responding, and the police station is just a mile away.
They find a male laying on the couch on his back, and this is Chris Grover, and he suffered one fatal gunshot wound to the left side of his head. There's a gun laying on the ground.
After nearly 2 hours talking to police at that traffic stop, Nikki's taken into custody for questioning.
And I would like to hear your side of the story.
They gave her every opportunity to explain this. From the officers at the scene, the story she tells them makes no sense.
CPS came because there was a report that I've been seeing with bruises for over a long time.
Nikki starts out by telling detectives that earlier that same day, Child Protective Services had visited their home to investigate claims made by an anonymous caller,
reporting that they had seen her injured and that they were worried about abuse happening at the home.
But Nikki says she lied to CPS. There was violence in her home. She says she was afraid that if she told the truth to CPS, it would infuriate Chris, a man she already feared. Nikki detailing the moments that she said led to her fatally shooting Chris.
He pulled it out from her, and I jumped up, and I kneed, like, not hard, but I kneed him a little bit, that he, like, flinched and dropped it, and then turned back over to me and said, you don't have it in you if you're going to give me the gun, and I'm going to kill both of us, and your kids will have no one. And then I just...
Pull the trigger. And then what do you do after that?
Because it was loud. I don't know what to do. I did like turn his head and check his pulse, but I didn't see anything. I just saw blood, and I left.
That would, in the minds of law enforcement, not be consistent with somebody who's just had to defend their life.
Obviously, self-defense, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, I can't make that determination right now.
She is raising this issue of self-defense during the interview. To investigators, this does not appear to be self-defense. This appears to be murder.
Nikki's story of that night is bizarre, but consistent. She says there was a history of abuse, that she wanted to leave, but that Chris wouldn't let her. So police are now wondering, is this a woman fleeing abuse or fleeing the scene of a crime?
The crime scene seemed to not quite make sense. There didn't look like there'd been the struggle they wanted.
For investigators, it doesn't make sense. They're fighting and they're struggling over a gun, yet he's on his back.
Investigators are developing a theory that Nikki shot him while he was sleeping because the medical examiner rules that it's a hard contact wound.
Which means she actually put the gun to the side of his head and made contact with it when she pulled the trigger.
When forensics searches the couple's phones, a few things stand out.
5 weeks prior to the murder, Nikki sent a text out where she references killing Chris.
In one text exchange with a friend, Nikki writes, "I haven't figured out how to kill him without being caught, so I'm still here." And then this emoji.
That text exchange is not great for Nikki's story of self-defense. But then investigators find something on Chris's phone from the night of his death that they say is even more suspicious.
Shortly after 11 o'clock, somebody is looking up and trying to get information about what happens when you shoot a sleeping person.
There's two possibilities here. Either Chris was searching for information on how to kill Nikki, or Nikki did that search herself in order to make it look like Chris was going to kill her.
Nikki Addimando has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. She says she shot the father of her 2 children in self-defense.
Nikki's sister Michelle takes in 4-year-old Ben and 2-year-old Faye and files for custody.
When the news hit, so many witnesses come forward and say, "Oh, I saw her at the mall and her arm was in a sling. I saw her with this bruise on her face." People didn't know what to do.
At the gym, I started noticing some things that just did not seem right. Finger marks on her neck and bruises on her neck. Parents talking that Chris could never do anything like that. There were many parents saying, "What is he doing to her?"
One concerned parent brings a very reluctant Nikki to police.
There's actually an investigation and a recorded interview.
That day, Nikki isn't able to bring herself to report Chris.
Nikki was hopeful that at some point he would just grow out of it, or that he would just get bored of it and then stop. Unfortunately, that's just not what tends to happen with domestic violence.
Nikki said time and time again, "No one will believe me. Everyone loves Chris."
The violence was escalating. She was coming in with more and more injuries, visible marks and bruising, marks on her wrists, clear strangulation marks on her neck.
Nikki's therapist convinces her to have her injuries photographed by a forensic nurse. Nikki says Chris burned her with a hot metal spoon for talking back to him in a disrespectful way.
I did speak with Dutchess County's prosecutors about options and the evidence that we have, and it did seem like everybody wanted to help, but the roadblock that we kept running into was we can't do much unless Nikki reports.
When Chris is found dead in 2017, the DA's office of Dutchess County is already familiar with Nikki's name because of these allegations of abuse from prior instances. So they recuse themselves and pass the case on to the DA's office in Putnam County.
The narrative was, well, nobody has this much documentation. This must have been manipulated.
When we come back, was it self-defense or a cold, calculated murder? In our exclusive interview, hear from Nikki Addimando in her own words about what she says happened that fateful night.
I wish every day that that night ended differently, but the truth is in that moment, it was survival. It was kill or be killed.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.